Hi everyone, it's Miss Jackson. I'm here to start our first homeroom read aloud. It's one of my favorite books. This one is called The Top 10 Ways to Ruin the First Day of School by Ken Derby. Now, I love this book. I have to give you a little background on this book. The book is about a boy named Tony Baloney, and Tony is trying to get on a late night talk show. The name of this talk show is Late Night with David Letterman. Now, this was before your time. But David Letterman would have people come on and they would do stupid human tricks. Like things like they would put a Velcro suit on and then they would run and jump onto a Velcro wall and just stick there. Or they had stupid pet tricks and just things like that. So Tony is trying to get on the David Letterman show. So he's going to do all kinds of crazy things. Also, the David Letterman show, every night he had a top 10 list. The topic changed. It could be the top 10 best snacks. But you're going to find top 10 lists, of course, in this book. So here we go. Chapter 1, Stupid Human Tricks. Tony Baloney stuck his head out of the 5th grade boys' restroom and whispered, "Psst, Mo. Over here." Mohammed bin Abdul Hamad bin Jamaluddin bin al-Rashid looked up from the drinking fountain. He had chocolate skin, puppy dog eyes, and shiny black hair. Everybody called him Mo for obvious reasons. What do you think the obvious reason was? Probably because his name is so long. "What do you want?" Mo whispered. "I want to show you something." "Ah, come on, TB. We're supposed to be in class," Mo said. Tony's real name was Anthony Madison. His mom always made him peanut butter and bologna sandwiches for lunch. He wouldn't eat anything else. Some kids called him Tony Baloney. Other kids called him TB for short. Tony gave Mo his "I can't believe you're going to wimp out on me" look. "It'll only take a minute," said Tony. "Mr. Gore's going to kill us," said Mo. "He'll never find out. Come on." Mo looked up and down the hallway. Not a soul was in sight. He went into the restroom. "We shouldn't be doing this," Mo said. "It's the first day of school." "You worry too much," said Tony. He faced the wall, climbed up on the toilet, and stood on the edge of the open bowl with his feet spread apart. Then he pulled a jump rope out of his back pocket. "What are you going to do with that?" asked Mo. "I'm going to flush and jump," Tony proudly said. "Nobody's ever jumped rope on an open flushing toilet before." "That's stupid," said Mo. "Exactly," said Tony. "I don't get it," said Mo. "Stupid human tricks," said Tony. "What?" asked Mo. "You know, like on the Late Show with David Letterman. Sometimes David invites people on his show to do stupid human tricks." The Late Show with David Letterman was Tony's favorite television show. He loved staying up late on Friday nights to watch David Letterman interview famous guests. He loved the top 10 lists, such as top 10 signs your kid watches too much TV, the jokes and the silly skits that David Letterman featured night after night. "So," said Mo. "So," Tony continued, "someday I'm going to flush and jump on the Late Show." "Yeah, right," said Mo. "Hurry up." Tony flushed the toilet and then swung the rope over his head. His first jump was perfect. His feet landed squarely on the seat of the toilet. Jumps number 2 and 3 were pretty good. Jump number 4 was not. At the last moment, he looked up, turned his head, and said, "Cool, huh?" His right foot missed the seat and plunged into the toilet. "Way to go, TB," said Mo, clapping his hands. Tony dropped the jump rope. Mo. "What?" "My foot is stuck," Tony said. "Mr. Gore is going to kill us." "Great," said Mo as he grabbed Tony's leg. "Flush the toilet and I'll pull at the same time." Tony flushed and Mo pulled. Nothing happened. Tony flushed and Mo pulled again. Nothing happened except the water filled the toilet and spilled onto the floor. "We're dead now," said Mo. "Yes, you are," said a voice behind him. "Exactly what's going on here, Mr. Madison, Mr. Al-Rashid?" Tony looked over his shoulder. Mr. Gore stood with his arms crossed over his huge chest. He wasn't happy. Some kids called him Mr. Gorilla behind his back. That was understandable because he kind of looked like one. Everybody called him Mr. G to his face, unless they were brainless. Well, that kind of reminds me that kids for the last few years have always given me this nickname, the Queen of Darkness, but we'll see. It wasn't good to make your 5th grade teacher mad on the first day of school. It was even worse to make a former linebacker for the University of Missouri football team mad on the first day of school. "What is going on here?" Mr. Gore repeated. Stupid human tricks," said Tony. "More like stupid Anthony tricks," said Mr. Gore. "Now get out of the toilet and get back to class." "Can't," Tony said. "My foot's stuck." Mr. Gore rolled his eyes and walked over to Tony. "On the count of 3, wriggle your foot." "I'll pull," Mr. Gore announced. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Gore leaned back and yanked as hard as he could. His feet shot out from under him, and he landed with a thud on the wet floor. "I should have stayed with football," Mr. Gore grunted as he propped himself up on one elbow. "It was a lot safer." Mr. G, my foot's still stuck," said Tony. Mr. Gore stood up. Water dripped from his clothes. "Tony, I think I'll leave you here for the rest of your life." "Wow, I'd probably make the Guinness Book of World Records," said Tony, grinning weakly. "I'd be known as TTK, Tony the Toilet King. I'd be famous." "This is going to be a long year," Mr. Gore shook his head. "Mo, go and get help." A few minutes later, the custodian tried to free Tony's foot. He had no luck either. Then Mrs. Hernandez, the principal, entered the restroom. Most kids called her the Terminator behind her back, but they called her Mrs. Hernandez to her face so they wouldn't get terminated. Tony's face turned red. He couldn't believe a woman was in the boys' restroom. He couldn't believe his foot was stuck in a toilet. But most of all, he couldn't believe his stupid human trick had flopped. "Way to go, Tony," Mrs. Hernandez said. She leaned over and tugged on his leg. Tony's foot didn't budge. "Mo, tell my secretary to call 911. "We're really dead now," muttered Mo as he headed to the office. The rescue squad arrived within minutes. They quickly solved the problem. The water was turned off, the toilet was cut in half with a diamond-tipped saw, and Tony's foot was free once again. Mr. Gore had to go home and change clothes. Mrs. Hernandez's secretary had to watch Mr. Gore's class. Tony and Mo had to go to the principal's office. Mrs. Hernandez sat, tapping her fingers on her desk. "Boys, we are in Kansas City, not New York City. This is Riverview Elementary School, not the Ed Sullivan Theater. I'm in charge here, not David Letterman. I don't want any more nonsense. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma'am." "And you both may mop the boys' restroom after school every day for the rest of the week. Now, get out of here. It's time for recess." Mrs. Hernandez grinned evilly. "And if I were you, I'd look out for Mr. Gore. He may terminate you when he gets back to school." News spread fast throughout Riverview Elementary School. Kids crowded around Tony and Mo at recess. They'd become heroes. Anna Peterson walked up to the crowd of kids. Her hair was the color of gold. She always ate peanut butter and banana sandwiches for lunch. Everyone called her Anna Banana for obvious reasons. "Hi guys," she said. "TB, you're one fantastic guy. Will you still be my friend when you become famous?" "Yeah, sure," he said, blushing for the second time that day. Anna was the prettiest girl in 5th grade. Okay, so I'm going to stop for today, and I'll continue on tomorrow. So good night. See you later. Bye-bye.